Since you're new to H&R Block, we'll look at your returns from the last 3 years for any money your last guy might have missed for free.
I could get money back from last year?
You could. We'll find any mistakes.
Could have really used that 2 years ago when I dated that mistake for 5 months.
Don't leave money on the table. Switch to H&R Block and get a free second look review. Second look is included at no additional cost with the purchase of tax preparation. Results vary. All tax situations are different. Fees apply if you have us file an amended return.
Chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more, can make me feel like a spectator in my own life.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It's the #1 prescribed branded chronic migraine preventive treatment.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and on a mock draft Monday, we have version 2 of our 7-round 49ers mock draft leading up to about roughly under 3 weeks to April's NFL draft. We're going to get into some draft day trades, some likely scenarios, and this is a what I would do mock draft, and I'm going to bring all the information I have, all the scouting reports, all the tape I've watched, coming your way right here on 49ers Access. As you can see, we have the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator in front of us. The San Francisco 49ers pick at number 11. And without further ado, let's jump in to pick number 1. But first, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And the Tennessee Titans are officially on the clock. Let's see what they do. Going to go pretty quickly here, but I'll scroll back up for you on the PFF mock draft simulator. Number 1 overall goes Cam Ward. That feels like a slam dunk at this point in time. It's going to happen. I know the Titans did not have a workout with Shedeur Sanders, so Cam Ward probably going number 1. Abdul Carter surprisingly going number 2 overall here. I think that slot will be Travis Hunter when it's all said and done. Look out for the Browns to try to draft Travis Hunter at 2, then maybe make a trade back in the first round to select Shedeur Sanders, want to pair both the Colorado boys up together in Cleveland, create some draft hype after what has been a terrible tenure of Deshaun Watson out there in Cleveland. Mason Graham goes number 3. Not shocking. I think that even if Abdul Carter is on the board at 3, I think the Giants are probably maybe making a trade back or go Mason Graham. You have Brian Burns. You already have Kayvon Thibodeau. Go out there and get yourself another defensive tackle next to Dexter Lawrence. You have 4 starting caliber defensive linemen. I wouldn't go Carter. I don't think they need Carter, albeit Carter is an incredible player. I think Mason Graham fits the Giants the best. And for the Patriots, they're clapping, they're cheering. Mike Vrabel gets Travis Hunter. He can be a cornerback, he can be a receiver. Feels 2 needs for them. They already brought in Stephon Diggs. They have Kendrick Bourne. That'd be a great pick for the Patriots. And the Jaguars get arguably the best offensive lineman in this draft. Probably the best offensive lineman, depending on if you want to tackle or guard. That being Will Campbell. Jahdae Barron is the first or technically second cornerback off the board, depending on how you view Travis Hunter, to the Las Vegas Raiders. Ted McMillan falls to 7 to the Jets. I would love that for the Jets. Armin Membu, maybe your consensus or maybe your favorite offensive tackle, depending on, again, how you view Will Campbell. He goes to Carolina at 8. Ashton Jeanty goes to the Saints at 9. One of the more confusing picks, albeit Jeanty and Alvin Kamara would be very fun to watch, although an odd pick for a rebuilding team in the Saints. And then Jihad Campbell, linebacker from Alabama, goes 10 to Chicago. All that leading us up to the San Francisco 49ers picking at number 11, about 3.5 minutes into our mock draft version 2, and there's plenty of talent on the board. Tyler Warren, tight end from Penn State. Mike Green, probably the second best edge rusher in this class on the board, albeit had some character concerns and some red flags. Will Johnson, had it not been for an injury, probably your consensus top cornerback besides Travis Hunter in this class. Kenneth Grant's there. Josh Simmons is there. A lot of talent on the board. A lot of top 10 talent on the board at 11. However, I want to try to double dip in the first round. I think San Francisco has 11 draft picks. If you can trade back, we saw what San Francisco did in 2020, right? They lose the Super Bowl. They trade away to Forrest Buckner, get that 13th overall pick from the Indianapolis Colts. They trade back one pick, then utilize that pick, try to get back in the first round, and they have Brandon Ayuk trade up for him. So there is reason to believe that the Niners, who already had 2 first-round draft picks, were more aggressive because they had their own pick later in the draft with the Brandon Ayuk selection, jumped in front of the Packers, who inevitably took Jordan Love. I think San Francisco, who John Lynch has been hyping up, I love the draft. I think this is a great opportunity for them to double dip in that first round. That 5th-round option, or that 5th-year option, has been such a massive game changer for them when it comes to extensions, when it comes to saving money. I think if you're smart and you're San Francisco, trade back at 11, which is almost the exact same thing we did last time, but if you have the opportunity and the player you like is there, be overly aggressive, get the guys you like, and maybe double dip in that first round. Let's entertain and let's see what trade offers are on the table. You had the Bengals at 17, the Seahawks at 18, the Broncos at 20, the Chargers at 22, the Texans at 25, and the Ravens at 27. Narrowing down, I don't want to trade with Seattle. I don't want to let my NFC rival maybe make a player or take a pick you like. I would hate to watch Seattle take Tyler Warren or Mike Green. I think the Chargers are an interesting option. I don't know what Harbaugh has planned. They need they need a Kenneth Grant-like player. Maybe they want Walter Nolan. If I'm San Francisco, though, I look at a team like the Denver Broncos. At pick 20, you'd move back 9 spots. They have plenty of draft picks in this year's draft. They have 3 draft picks inside the top 100. We know that Sean Payton likes to be aggressive, whether with the Saints for Bo Nix. If he likes a guy, he wants to go up there and get it as latest as last year, again with quarterback Bo Nix. So I like the Broncos here. Funny enough, Shanahan ties with Mike and Kyle. If you're San Francisco, you're trading pick 11 away, you're getting pick 20. You're probably going to ask for a second-round pick next year and maybe pick 51. Maybe you don't get that lucky. Maybe you go for an earlier pick, 51 this year, and a 3rd-round pick next year. I wouldn't mind that. You can also get more aggressive and say, give me pick 122. So you'd get 3 picks this year. Pick 20, 51, and 22, and a 3rd-round pick next year. I would love that for San Francisco. Probably not going to get pick 85 involved there, but I think for the Broncos, they want their star player, San Francisco. They're going to want a plethora of picks. Give them more ammunition. And if you make this move, you have pick 20, 43, 51, 75, 100, and you still have 113. You gain 122. You have 138 and 147 and 160. You have about 10 picks inside the 150 range, if you will, and it gives you so many more options to go up, move up on day 2, which is heralded as the sweet spot for this draft class. And also, if you like a player late in the first round, well, you can be aggressive and snag that guy. I'm going to try to make this move, and let's see what PFF says. They accept the offer. We are officially moving back to pick 20. The Broncos are coming up, and let's see what transpires from picks 11 up into pick 20 when we pick next on the draft board. The Broncos go Will Johnson. The Cowboys go Mike Green. The Dolphins go Kenneth Grant. The Colts go Donovan Azaracco. The Falcons get Tyler Warren. Oddly enough, think that's semi-weird unless they're going to trade Kyle Pitts away. That's kind of an awkward pick for me, but the talent we like is still on the board here. You get ahead of the Chargers, who probably want to get Walter Nolan, knowing that Kenneth Grant is gone off the board. You are ahead of teams like the Packers, the Vikings, the Texans. You can get aggressive, maybe take one of your top-tier tackles if you want that defensive lineman. I can see you doing that too. Nolan's still here. Shamar Stewart's still there. Derek Harmon's still there. Let's go ahead and let's take, I think, with the pick that we have, knowing we want to be more aggressive inside the first round. You have Joshua Simmons, but the patellar injury is relatively scary. He's a great player, fits your scheme wholeheartedly, make a lot of sense. Play right tackle hopefully in year one. Move him to left tackle once Trent Williams retires. But I think Kelvin Banks from Texas makes a ton of sense for the San Francisco 49ers. 6'4", 325 pounds, an 88.8 pass blocking grade last year, an 80.9 run blocking grade. Only allowed 9 total pressures. He can play tackle. He can also play guard. So maybe in year one, he's playing next to Trent Williams, left tackle and a left guard combo. You already like Dominic Pooney. We've talked so much about how you can probably get a guard on day 2, maybe day 3 if you're lucky. However, if you can improve your left guard position next to Jake Brendel, we heard John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan say, we love Jake Brendel. Well, do you love Jake Brendel next to Ben Barch and Spencer Burford, Matt Hennessy, or do you like Jake Brendel next to a first-round talent in Kelvin Banks? He has the arm length to be an NFL tackle. He absorbs contact extremely well, great contact balance. He doesn't lose in true drop-back passing game situations. He plays low with leverage. He's a dense player. For a player his size, 6'4", 300, nearly 30 pounds, very agile, has quick lateral movements. He's going to keep defenders in front of him. He has striking hands in the run game and passing game. I think if you want to talk about maybe some improvements he needs to make, in the running game, there are some times he will miss some blocks. Sometimes he can be erratic. However, I think those issues are coachable. Knowing where to strike, when to be aggressive. I think sometimes he can have the mentality of, I want to go out there and just crush somebody. I want to take somebody's head off, rein that in. I think Kelvin Banks makes a heck of a player for you at 19, trading back, or at 20, excuse me, trading back with the Broncos. Take your left guard of the current day, then move him to tackle in the future, whether it be McKivitz on a contract year this year or Trent Williams eventually retiring. You can maybe talk about Walter Nolan. Took him in last week's draft. Took him at 19, actually. I would love that pick as well. However, knowing that you have teams like the Texans, who traded away Laramie Tunsil, they may have Josh Simmons as their number one guy, but with the injury history, they could use Kelvin Banks, keep him in Texas, hometown guy. I want to keep Kelvin Banks on my team at 20. Don't want to let him slide back. I think it's worth the risk to let one of these DTs fall later in the draft to hopefully pick one up. Going to go ahead and slow down the simulator for a second to hopefully make that trade when it's all said and done. But I think Kelvin Banks makes a ton of sense. He has tackle future. We're going to go ahead and take Kelvin Banks. He immediately improves your offensive line. He can play left guard. He can play right guard. He can play right tackle. He can play left tackle. I think it's worth the pick. You can always get your DT on day 2 or late on day 1. So Kelvin Banks is the man. We're going to go ahead and see who goes next. See, Joshua Simmons goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Had you waited, the Texans are probably going to take Kelvin Banks. Emeka Mbuka goes to the Chargers. The Packers are up. They go Walter Nolan. Oddly enough, the Vikings go Colston Loveland, 2 first-round tight ends this year. Then you have the Texans. They're going to go Shamar Stewart. The Rams go Gray Zabel. The Ravens are going to go ahead and take Luther Burden. Now you have the Lions taking James Pierce Jr., and I think the next pick, that being the Washington Commanders, is the sweet spot to trade back up in this year's draft class. Deebo Samuel, already a Washington Commander, but the Commanders also traded a handful of picks away to go and get Laramie Tunsil from the Houston Texans. They're going to want some more picks. They want to capitalize on their amazing 2024 campaign. You have Jaden Daniels, you have Deebo Samuel, you have Terry McLaurin. Give them more picks, give them more firepower. And for San Francisco, you're sitting back saying, hey, let's capitalize on a team that maybe doesn't love a player at pick 29. Whereas if you're San Francisco, you got your left guard, you got your left tackle of the future. Now go and get your defensive tackle. And we're going to call the Washington Commanders up, Adam Peters, and hopefully take advantage of them not having the picks or the plethora of picks they had pre-trades for Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil. So we're going to offer them pick 43. We're going to offer them pick probably 100 here. I think that's pretty fair. You offer a day 2 pick. You offer a later day 3 pick. They're going to go ahead and get pick 43, 61, and have 100. So they're going to have 3 top 100 picks, whereas if you're the Niners, you get that first-round pick again. You hop ahead of teams like the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, and maybe get your defensive tackle of the future here and improve your defense even more. We're going to offer the trade. They're not going to accept it. We're going to toss in a 7th-round pick next year to hopefully sweeten the pot. Don't like that either? Well, this is why you do things on a recording. Give them a 6th-round pick next year. They don't like that either. Going to go ahead and give them, let's say, a 4th-round pick next year. Just give them what they want for the sake of the conversation. They don't want to do it either. Going to go ahead and give them this pick. They finally do it. We're back on the board at pick 29. Always fun. And I think there is a clear-cut answer here of who you're going to pick at 29. I think it's Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Oregon. You didn't get Walter Nolan. I think Derek Harmon is arguably in conversation for pick number 11 between the 2 defensive tackles. Derek Harmon is my number 3 defensive tackle on my board. It's Mason Graham, Walter Nolan, and Derek Harmon.
I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
I think Harmon's awesome. 6'5", 310 pounds, a bigger player than Walter Nolan. 2 inches and about 15 pounds heavier than Walter Nolan. I think San Francisco wants that space eater. He has massive 34-inch arms. Only 21 years old, so he's still pretty young. Coming out of the West Coast, an 80.5 run defense grade. San Francisco needs that. And an 86.2 pass rushing grade. He also had 60 total pressures last year. That was about 25% more than every other interior defensive lineman in this year's draft class. He had 5 sacks. He had a 17.9 pass rush win rate. I think he's a very balanced player. He has the size you want. One of the biggest drawbacks to Walter Nolan is his size. He has such a great potential, but there are times in run defense that, although it's not common, against bigger guards, you can get kind of washed out. That's not a problem with Derek Harmon. Very refined player, high motor, very active hands with a good bull rush. Has the anchor you want to push back your guards, push back your centers. Sometimes you wish the pad level was better. Again, he's 6'5", so doesn't really have the natural leverage you want with a player like Walter Nolan. However, if you can coach that down, get him lower in the ground, have him lower his pads, he will be a monster for you on the interior. I think for Derek Harmon, coaching, get Chris Kosarek in with him. He's already a more refined player than Nolan is. And I think for Harmon, the one trait you love again is those hands. He will smack the helmet off of somebody and just keep barreling through them. I think if he can kind of get his body under control, fix the pad level, I think he can be a phenomenal player. And funny enough, the last 2 great interior defensive linemen for San Francisco or Oregon Ducks, DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead. Why not go replace those guys? What you've been looking for, your DeForest Buckner replacement. Not saying it's Harmon, but why don't you dip your palm back in the Oregon Duck pool and hopefully you can find the next guy. So Derek Harmon, Niners get 2 first-round picks. Oregon Ducks, I love this pick for them. 2 first-round draft picks, Kelvin Banks and Derek Harmon. Now we have to wait until pick 51. Shedeur Sanders goes to the Cleveland Browns. I would love that for them, albeit in round number 2. That makes the most sense to me. I don't think he's a first-round pick whatsoever. With the pick which we gave the Commanders, they go pick Trey Amos, cornerback from Ole Miss, and we're back on the board in round number 2. As you can see, we got Kelvin Banks at 20, we got Derek Harmon at 29, and we still have 2 more picks inside the top 100. I think if you want to replenish your defensive line here, you got your interior guy, go get your edge rusher. I think you are looking for a strong edge rusher. You're looking for a bigger guy. You want to pair him with Nick Bosa. In our previous draft, if you go up on the board here, we drafted JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State. He went to the Colts at 45. Now we're left with players like Landon Jackson, Jack Sawyer, Jared Harvey, Jordan Birch. We took Jordan Birch in our last draft a little later. I think Landon Jackson, which funny enough, he was clowned so much in high school. He's the kid that was smacking the pads. I don't want to say very girl-like, but didn't really the way he presented himself was like, that does not look like a football player. But now at Arkansas, he looks like an NFL player. He's big. He's strong. I have him right in front of me here on my breakdowns. 6'5", 270 pounds, a 72.2 pass rushing grade per PFF, an 88.7 run defense grade, almost 40 pressures, 6.5 sacks, an 11.5% pass rush win rate. There are some concerns. He tore his ACL in college, hurt his ACL, albeit it wasn't a tear at Arkansas. So maybe there is some tiny injury concerns, although I don't think it's too serious for him. But this is a lengthy and dense player. He has those long arms. He wants to wreck shop. He wants to smack the crap out of you, just like Derek Harmon. They are very strong up front. He's kind of that bull in a china shop where he just wants to run around and wreak havoc all over the place. I think San Francisco needs those high motor, high energy players. His hands are so strong. He knows how to stack and shed blocks with the best of them, and that's really important for San Francisco. Players that don't get washed away in the running game, players that don't get washed away by your top-tier left tackles, your top-tier right tackles. I do think, similar to Derek Harmon, get that pad level lower. Both players are 6'5". Again, you don't have natural leverage. However, what you do have is a very strong body, a dense body, but if you can just get that pad level a little lower, it's going to help you win more at the NFL level. That said, when you are 6'5", almost 270 pounds, you really don't move very well. I don't think he doesn't have the lateral agility to play in the NFL. Although it's not top tier, it's not, your James Pierce, your Mike Green. He is a B tier, I think, edge rusher, although, again, a really good edge rusher at that. I do think he needs to have a better pass rushing plan, but he has the hand movements. He can swipe, the tackle's hands away and the guard's hands away. I think also, being 6'5", 270 pounds, I think Robert Saleh could play him inside and outside and use that versatility, which he loves. You saw it with a couple years ago in San Francisco, Charles Omenihu. San Francisco tried that with Yetur Gross-Matos. I'm assuming it'll stay, and they'll try it again this year with him. But I think having more versatility, maybe adding a player on your NASCAR package could help. But I think when you want to have that run stuffing, edge setting, strong hands, dense, be able to block and shed or stack and shed offensive linemen, Landon Jackson does that better than Jack Sawyer, Jared Ivey, Kyle Kennard, and Josiah Stewart. Probably the better remaining edge rushers on the board. So Landon Jackson going pick 51 to San Francisco. PFF has him as their 41 ranked prospect, so a really good pick, 10 spots later than a projection had him going. I love this for them. You get Harmon, you get Landon Jackson, and you get your offensive line improved in round number 1. You're more aggressive. You can go out and get the players you like. But now you got to wait until pick 75 in round number 3. Thankfully, in 10 more picks, like players like Xavier Restrepo went, not a big deal. Alfred Collins went. Hence why it was so important to go out there and get Derek Harmon. CJ West went to the Bears, a great pick by them. But now you're sitting here at pick 75. Okay, you can go receiver. You already got your tackle. You can go defensive tackle again, which I'll tell you this right now. I know it's too early for some of you for a running back, but I think there's one running back San Francisco, mainly Kyle Shanahan's going to love, and that is DJ Giddens from Kansas State. I'm not going to pick him here, but I just want to give you the rundown as to why I like him so much. I think he fits what San Francisco wants to do. He's 6'1", 210 pounds. Last year at Kansas State, 1,300 yards, 862 after contact, 54 forced missed tackles, 7 rushing touchdowns, and 37 runs of 10-plus yards. He has a long speed. He has a long cut ability. He's got some wiggle to him, and he has that big frame you want in between the tackles. He can also hold up in pass protection, so they just traded away Jordan Mason. Well, here's your Jordan Mason replacement, in my opinion, in DJ Giddens. He's patient. You wish maybe there was some more effort consistently. However, he's not going to be a receiver for you, but everything he does well. You have Guerendo, who's already a great receiver. Jordan Mason took some time to become an adequate enough receiver. I think DJ Giddens could be a player for you on day one as probably your RB2, RB3. With the injuries you have to Christian McCaffrey and Isaac Guerendo, I think Giddens slots in there. I think Kyle Shanahan is keep an eye on him. I think he'll love him. I think he wants to draft DJ Giddens, but again, that's just my opinion on things. But so far, you have your tackle, you have your defensive lineman on the interior, and you have your edge rusher. What do you do? Do you go cornerback? You got Trey Brown, you got Green, you got Lenore. Obviously, you love those guys, but really isn't one I'd love to take at 75. In the third round, you like Dorian Strong, they like Jacob Parrish, you love Kobe Bryant, but I think it's a little too rich for most of those players. You may get lucky and one of those guys will drop. I don't love RJ Harvey as much as other people do. If you want to go receiver, you can go Jalen Noel. Does so many things for you as a receiver, really fast, and go up and get it. However, I think with the needs San Francisco has, they should double dip from Texas and go with Vernon Broughton. Again, maybe a little early, pick 75. Currently, they have him at pick 84 on the PFF draft board, but another 6'5 guy, 311 pounds, 35-inch arms, so a little bigger, a little longer than Derek Harmon. A little older too, 23 years old, but a good pass rusher, has really good size, has good get off, good feet, quick feet off the snap, off the line of scrimmage, very strong upper body, strong torso, strong arms. Harmon is a very refined player overall. Broughton is a more refined pass rusher than run blocker. He also has an incredible arsenal when it comes to pass rushing moves. He has the club, he has the swim, he has the rip, he has the bull rush, he has all those things you like, and even has a spin move where you're like, whoa. The Niners probably haven't had a pass rushing defensive tackle like Vernon Broughton. You can argue maybe since a healthy Javon Hargrave, but didn't really do much in his time in San Francisco. I think you're going back to a player like Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner as well. You do wish he was a little more bendy. Again, pad level can be a problem for him, being 6'5". Isn't the most versatile player, but not that big of a deal. He's not going to be this amazing run defender, but as a pass rusher, San Francisco likes a lot of pass rushing interior guys. He's going to be a day one starter for you probably. I think he makes the most sense. You can argue for a player like Joshua Farmer here from Florida State, but I think Vernon Broughton kind of that third down, get to the quarterback player on day one, but as he progresses, maybe is a more consistent player for you down the road. I would make this move, get him on your defense, get 2 defensive tackles on day 1 and day 2, and you have now 3 defensive linemen picked in your first 4 draft picks, and you don't pick again until pick 113. But again, you have pick 113, you have pick 122, you have pick 138, and you have pick 147. There is room to be more aggressive. So Vernon Broughton's the pick here from Texas. Let's see what's going on the board for us here. Terrence Ferguson goes, Joshua Farmer goes. I think you may sit back here. You're waiting. Like, do you want to take a player? Who do you want to take? The Texans are on the board again. Trent Williams goes. You may want to pause it here and look who's coming up. You have the Saints. You have the Browns. You have the Chiefs. The Ravens are on the clock now. They go Andrew Makuba. The Seahawks go Jalen Milroe. Maybe you want to call a team like the Saints. They pick at 93 and 112 and 131. They're rebuilding. They want to get younger. Maybe you can make a trade there. A team like the Browns, who are in kind of a massive hole trying to fill their needs. They pick at 94 and 104, and they don't pick until 179. Maybe they want to add some more picks there. You can maybe call about 94. You can offer him 113. Maybe you offer 147. They're probably not going to take that. But I think 113 and 138 wouldn't be too bad. Maybe you go 227 at that point. Get aggressive, move back up. But let's see what else is out there. Let's see who they pick. They go Charles Grant. Thankfully, we already have Kelvin Banks from Texas, which I would love Charles Grant on day 2. I think he's a great player from William & Mary. I think he fits this team to a T, but we already got our tackle. Let's see what else is out there for us. DJ Giddens goes to the Chiefs. I would hate that for San Francisco. They have Kareem Hunt. They have Isaiah Pacheco. Now they have DJ Giddens and Elijah Moore, but sometimes the rich get richer. Let's see what else happens here. You're inching towards further into round 4. The Rams go Anthony Belton. The Lions go Jeffrey Bassa. That's a player I can see San Francisco trading up for. Linebacker out of Oregon. I think it makes a lot of sense for them to do so. I think they're a team that probably would love to have Jeffrey Bassa be the Dre Greenlaw replacement. I don't know how likely that is. However, I can see that being the case for them. We're going to go ahead and sit back here, though. Let the draft come to us at 113 and see how the cards fall. Shockingly, Tate Ratledge goes to the Patriots. This late Harold Fannin goes to the Jets. Would have loved to have gotten him too. And then Jacob Parrish goes to the Panthers. Now you're kind of sitting here like, okay, what do? You got 2 interior guys. You got an edge rusher. Could have been aggressive. Could have went and got Bassa. Could have went and got Oladejo from UCLA. There are 3 players on day 2 I think San Francisco wants to be aggressive for. It is Fannin, Oladejo, and Jeffrey Bassa. But now we're sitting here like, okay, you didn't get your tight end, you didn't get your linebacker, and you didn't get your number 2 edge rusher. What do? You got 2 interior guys, probably don't need a third until later. You didn't get your running back that you loved. There's Jaden Blue here. I know a lot of people are making a big deal about him. Jaden Blue is, to me, one of the more frustrating prospects because he has the elite speed. He's a great receiver. He can separate. He's a great transitioner from a pass catcher to a receiver. There's so many things great as a wide receiver playing running back. However, he's fumbled 5 times last year. That is going to piss off Kyle Shanahan, and I think is almost an immediate no-go for him. If you give the ball up, you're probably not going to play much in a Kyle Shanahan's scheme and system, so I don't love Jaden Blue. I'd rather have Kalel Mullings or Kyle Monangai, although both those players, mainly being Monangai, doesn't really have the speed. Isaiah Bonds, I think draft stock has kind of tanked so far. Wouldn't want him out of Texas. Isaac Tesla from Arkansas, could see that happening from as a receiver, albeit I don't think in round 4 you want to go that high with him. But I do think that you start to have the conversation about, do you go Gunnar Helm? You missed on Fannin. You go Kobe Bryant here. I can see that happening. From Kansas, took him in last week's draft. Maybe you want to go Quindarius Robinson out of Alabama, get another edge rusher who I think would be a very interesting pick for the San Francisco 49ers. If I can bring them up on my notes here, if I can find them for a second.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
I think Gunnar Helm is probably one of the more put together tight ends in this year's draft class. That said, I think they really want Harold Fannin. I can see them, making a move for him up in the draft. I just don't know if this team would be open to being aggressive for a player like Quindarius Robinson. Maybe you can pitch yourself on an ASP Bulls, but he's only 6'1". It's really short. And he kind of fills what Vernon Broughton already does to a lesser extent. So I wouldn't love that, although I can see it happening, being how much they want to get aggressive there. But I think you're in round 4. You already have your blocking tight end in Luke Farrell. You have George Kittle. You missed on Fannin. Go and get Gunnar Helm from Texas. There's been some, I don't want to say arguing, but there has been some concerns for his run blocking grades, and I think that's true that Gunnar Helm isn't going to be this stout run blocker on day one. However, I do think a lot of his negatives are being kind of blown up more so than they should be. He's 6'5", 252, has a size for a tight end, bigger than Harold Fannin Jr. This past year at Texas, 60 catches, 786 yards, 7 touchdowns, 35 receiving first downs, only 2 drops in 73 targets. Good after the catch. He has a stiff arm. He has jukes. He has hurdles. He is a yak monster, if you will. He lost Deebo Samuel, and maybe you can find the next yak bro or the 2 yak tight ends in Kittle and Gunnar Helm. He can really do it all. Dynamic receiving tight end. He's a player I could see the Eagles drafting, the Chiefs drafting. You see how they use Dallas Goedert. You see how they've used Travis Kelce in previous years. I can see both those teams coveting Gunnar Helm. I think there's high effort there. He knows how to separate and set up defenders, tight ends, and linebackers and safeties and cornerbacks. Again, as a receiver, he can really do it all. A lot of the drawbacks are as a blocker. I think he's got the size. I think he's got the anchor. However, he needs to improve the anchor. He's probably not going to be someone you love taking on bigger edge rushers on day one, but linebackers, your nickel backs who are blitzing, you wouldn't mind that. But that's why you have Luke Farrell there, right, to be that guy on a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal. I think when you're talking about overall well-rounded players, Gunnar Helm may be one of the most well-rounded amongst your tight ends. You have Loveland, you have Tyler Warren, but I think Harold Fannin Jr. and Gunnar Helm need to be in that conversation as you don't need to feel bad about not getting Warren or Loveland when you have Helm and Fannin there. Entirely different players, but I think Gunnar Helm's skill set, although I think San Francisco wants Fannin, I think fits what they want to do offensively. Again, be a bigger body guy, have him improve his body the next couple years when you extend George Kittle. You have Farrell is probably going to be your inline tight end, run 12 and 22 personnel, but Gunnar Helm can be the kind of incumbent receiving tight end you help kind of bridge the gap. Once Kittle, who is in his 30s, eventually ages out, you have Helm there. I think we'll also bring Brock Purdy to a different level. Now knowing you have Kyle Juszczyk, you have Gunnar Helm, and if George Kittle, who does miss some time, Gunnar Helm becomes the number 2 de facto tight end and a really good offense and a really good receiving player for you in Kyle Shanahan's system. So we're going Gunnar Helm. Let's see who goes next. Jonas Sanker goes. Isaiah Bond goes. Let's see who else goes here. Going to pick relatively soon. Quindarius Robinson goes. And I think we just watched our next pick go off the board at Kobe Bryant at pick 121 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, now you're sitting here. You got one edge rusher. You got two interior guys. It may be time to then approach the edge rushing room again. I like a player like Ja Joyner. Think you can get him a little later in the draft. Maybe you can talk about Baron Sorrell from Texas, but again, don't love the traits he has. But you're at pick 122. Our picks so far are Kelvin Banks. We have three Texas players: Kelvin Banks, Vernon Broughton, and Gunnar Helm. Maybe you want to go cornerback here. I think might be a good option. Noah Williams is a really good player. Zay Alexander is one I would consider, albeit maybe a little too early for him at this point in time. Do you like Jair Brown enough to not take Billy Bowman Jr.? My big complaint about Billy Bowman Jr. from Oklahoma, despite being Boomer Sooner until the day I die, 25% missed tackle rate. I don't love that. I don't think San Francisco necessarily needs to draft a safety, and I think a player like Malachi Moore or RJ Mickens can be just as impactful in different ways than Billy Bowman Jr., but on day 3 in the draft compared to, round 4. And I think you don't really want to reach for a player, in my opinion, that has missed 25% of his tackles. I don't love that whatsoever. Maybe you want to talk about Xavion Jones from LSU, 6'5", 280 pounds, an edge rusher, a 76.8 pass rushing grade, a 69.1 run blocking grade, or run defending grade, 14.6% pass rush win rate, 4.5 sacks this last year, 45 total pressures. He's fast, violent hands, high motor, relentless player. He's not bendy, doesn't have your lateral agility, probably fits better to be a 3-4 outside linebacker. But you can have that conversation. How can you, convert him, if you will? Maybe you want to dive into, more of the Jamari Caldwell conversation at defensive tackle again, and just load up on things. You get 2 Oregon guys, you got 3 Texas guys already. Why not kind of triple dip there? You have to improve the room entirely. Get big up front, get nasty up front. You want to be the Rams, you want to be Philadelphia. This is how you do stuff. Caldwell, a shorter player than Broughton and Derek Harmon, our previous 2 interior defensive line draft picks. 6'2", 342 pounds though, so tinier by 3 inches, but a massive frame, massive body. 81.6 run defense grade, a 71.5 pass rushing grade, 27 total pressures, 4 batted down passes, an underrated, I think, ability that a lot of times you often overlook. Think of Chris Jones against Mike Pearson in 2019. Think of Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, some of the biggest moments of their career, balls batted down. Despite them having success in other areas, shorter quarterbacks have that problem. He had no sacks last year, though, so more of your run-stuffing defensive lineman where you got Broughton, maybe a balance it out with Caldwell here in round or at pick 122. He does have short arms, going to limit him against, your longer-armed centers, your longer-armed interior guys. But he has natural leverage. He knows how to use his size. Has an elite anchor. He's not going to get moved around in the run game against your bigger centers, your bigger, guards and whatnot. He's kind of, to put it in layman's terms, kind of a brick crap house, if you will. Like, you don't move him. Whereas CJ West gets so much praise from Indiana, who I love, as kind of that unmovable object. I think Jamari Caldwell can also be that for a defense like San Francisco. So I don't really love the edge rushing talent here. So I'm going to go Jamari Caldwell. You got Derek Harmon, pair him with his running mate in Caldwell. You got Vernon Broughton. I think San Francisco has fixed their interior defensive line, which if they want to be the Eagles, go Jamari Caldwell here and see how the draft falls to you. The next few picks is Jaden Blue, J.J. Pegues from Ole Miss, Noah Williams goes, Kyle Williams goes, an underrated player. Let's see what else we have here. Jack Kaiser goes, Alexander goes, Billy Bowman goes. So some players maybe you liked have gone. since your last pick. However, if you are San Francisco, you're sitting here, Trevor Etienne's there, Kalel Mullings is there. This may be, in my opinion, the Kalel Mullings pick, running back from Michigan, but you can also sell me on the idea of Chase Lunt, tackle guard from Connecticut. You already got Kelvin Banks, but why not double dip? You never know. I wouldn't be too mad about that. You can go Elijah Huzzie, a cornerback from North Carolina, who I like a lot. Good run defender, good cornerback overall. But again, you don't have that linebacker. A lot of holes to fill. That said, this is Kyle Shanahan. This is what we would do. I think this is what he would do move here. I think he would pick Kalel Mullings out of Michigan. Not the best running back in this class, although I think better than some players going ahead of him in this draft class. Better than Trevor Etienne, Jarquez Hunter, Brashard Smith. I think better than Jadon Blue. You can argue he's better than Jordan James, depending on what you want to do offensively. I think Kalel Mullings fits what San Francisco wants to do. He is somewhat of a project, doesn't have the patience you want, but doesn't fumble, fits the outside zone scheme. He uses his body as a battering ram. Former linebacker turned into a running back. I think makes a ton of sense here in round number 4. Shanahan likes those round 4, round 3 running backs. You lose Jordan Mason. Go get your guy here out of Michigan. Last year at Michigan, 948 yards, 657 after contact, 37 forced missed tackles, 12 rushing touchdowns, 16 runs of 10-plus yards. He's only been a running back for 2 years. So if you want that kind of moldable piece of clay, get him with Bobby Turner in the backfield and to say, teach me, guide me, lead me, and help me learn your ways. I think Mullings will be that guy for Kyle if they don't want to get DJ Giddens from Kansas State. He is that north to south runner. He wants to get physical. Think of Elijah Mitchell. That's kind of what I got a taste of here. Without the injury history, which certainly helps. So I'm going to go Kalel Mullings. You're probably not going to love that, but this is Kyle Shanahan here. He's like, John, got to get our guy. Maybe a reach, but I think it's an overall good pick for San Francisco. Now we still have picks 147, 160, 227, 249, and 252 back on the board here at pick 147, and Elijah Huzzie goes right in front of us, so that stinks. But that said, you also have Kobe King here from Penn State, linebacker. You didn't get Jeffrey Bassa. I think Kobe King could be one of their favorites in this draft. Obviously, you go over some players, you like him a lot, you not like him a lot. You know, you can get into the conversation of, well, round, day 1, day 2, go linebacker, replace Dre Greenlaw. I don't think they really have to do that. I think there's a little too much hype around Jeffrey Bassa. I like him a lot. I think he's better than a player like Demetrius Knight from South Carolina or Cody Simon from Ohio State. But I do think Kobe King from Penn State, bringing up his PFF profile here, really good run defender, played a lot of snaps the last 3 years. You can go kind of dive into everything here on the board. You play good against Oregon, play good against Washington, Ohio State, Wisconsin, so played good against really good talent on a defense, with Abdul Carter. I think can make some sense. PFF's next best linebacker on the board. I don't really see any edge rushers you like. Don't like Tyler Batty too much from BYU. Again, maybe a reach. I don't mind them doing that. If you want to double dip on offensive line, maybe you go Chase Lunt. Maybe you have a conversation about Kelvin Banks being your left guard, but then being your left tackle of the future. You get Chase Lunt, have him be your backup swing tackle for this year. Also wouldn't hate that. Like Chase Lunt a lot. However, you got Kobe King down here. Seeing a lot of hype for players like Jackson Hawes from Georgia Tech. You got Luke Farrell. You don't need your third kind of blocking tight end. I personally would go Kobe King, but for the sake of conversation and for the sake of appeasing a lot of you offensive line truthers out there, we'll go Chase Lunt. Good pass blocking, good run blocking tackle who I think could be a player that Kyle Shanahan covets and likes as well in round number 5 of this year's NFL Draft. As we await the next pick, want to let you know you can use our promo code 49ers Access, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Again, you want to find a deal on a concert ticket. Baseball's now in full swing. The Giants are in first place. Somebody call the police. Like, who saw that coming? You want to see your Giants play in person. You want to go see a concert this spring, this summer. Go to SeatGeek.com and use our promo code 49ers Access, 49 ERS ACCESS, and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Jaw Joyner's still there. I know we talked about getting Kobe King. I like Jaw Joyner a lot from Minnesota, an edge rusher. We've kind of skimped on the defensive line edge rushing group. We got Landon Jackson. That's kind of it. I can see Jaw Joyner being one of the players San Francisco likes. 6'4", 255 pounds, out of Minnesota, a senior this past year, 73.8 pass rushing grade, 75.4 run defense grade, 35 pressures, 4.5 sacks, had a 23% pass rush win rate in 2023. That dropped to about 12.8% this past year, but he has long arms, he has heavy hands, big frame, not going to be this run defender. He'll get washed out of the run game far too often. However, he's still trying to figure out his body. And when you're late in the draft, he's got good size, being 6'4", 255. If he can figure out the weight he wants to play at, how he wants to kind of disperse the density and the weight he currently has, I think it'd be a good pick for them. Probably one of the better edge rushers still on the board. And you don't pick until 227, you're probably not going to find a guy you like that late in the draft to maybe contribute on year one, but you have Robert Beal Jr., you have Nick Bosa, you have Yetur Gross-Matos, you have Landon Jackson, maybe you sign a veteran down the road, you never know. I think Jaw Joyner can actually be a piece for you, maybe not in year one, but maybe towards the tail end of year one with kind of 2 full off seasons in his body this year, maybe next year. I think could be a player you like, so I'm going to go Jaw Joyner here simply because you got to find some more edge rushers, although I wouldn't mind them drafting Kobe King here, or even Quincy Riley, cornerback from Louisville, although the run defense is really bad for Quincy Riley. So going to go Jaw Joyner, might be more aggressive, might trade back up, we'll see, but going to go ahead and use this pick 160 on Jaw Joyner, get, in my opinion, the best remaining edge rusher on the board, and sit back and see what the rest of day 3 takes us. As we await the rest of day 3 picks, also want to let you know to click that link down below in the description and get yourself a can of goat fuel. I know myself, I love my coffee. Wasn't a big energy drink guy until I got some goat fuel. I love it. It tastes great, and it helps when they have the GOAT Jerry Rice on the cover. Gotta love that. So click your link down below and save yourself 10% off your purchase of Goat Fuel by using my link down in the description. We're inching closer to pick 200. I do want to pause things here, and I think it's good to wait, and let's call the Cleveland Browns at pick 200. They have pick 200. They have pick 216. I want pick 200. I believe the player I want is still on the board. If I can go back up and find them here. I think they're still there. It looks like they're still there. And I want to go up and get, well, maybe not. Kobe King and Cody Simon both go back-to-back. So never mind there. The linebacker I like isn't on the board. One of the big drawbacks about PFF's mock draft simulator is you don't know who's currently on the draft board still, which kind of sucks. I wish they would change that. However, I don't think they need to make 3 picks here, but it looks like the trade's not going to happen. So let's go back up. The player I wanted is not there anymore. I did want to get ahead of the Rams, who pick at 201 and 202, but that's not going to happen, it looks like. So we'll resume the draft. The Browns go Jalen Smith. The Rams go Dylan Fairchild, a player I love out of Georgia. Miles Frazier, a player that the Niners have talked to already as a top 30 visit. He goes to the Washington Commanders, so no shock there. Similar offensive systems, and the way they build their teams, very similar. Teddy Buchanan, a favorite amongst Niner fans, linebacker out of Cal, he goes, unfortunately, to the Dallas Cowboys in this mock draft. And now we're here. We have pick 227.
So good, so good, so good.
New markdowns up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Fresh kicks, spring tops, new dresses. There's always a score.
I mean, the denim section is unreal.
Why do I rack? All the dresses. I always find something amazing.
Head to your Nordstrom Rack store to find can't-miss deals on all the spring things. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
We're sitting here. Here's our draft picks thus far. Kind of give you a rewind. Pick number 20 via a trade back with the Broncos, Kelvin Banks, offensive lineman out of Texas. Pick 29 via trade up with the Washington Commanders, Derek Harmon out of Oregon. In round 2 went Landon Jackson, edge rusher out of Arkansas. Round 3, pick 75, Vernon Broughton, double did from Texas. In round 4, went with Gunnar Helm, tight end at 113. Then went right back around to Oregon at pick 122, went Jamari Caldwell. In round 4, got Kyle Shanahan, his running back, and Kalel Mullings from Michigan. Round 5, really wasn't a lot of great players still there, but said, you know what, let's get maybe a Colton McKivitz replacement, and maybe your swing tackle this year, your Jalen Moore replacement, if you will. Insulate your offensive line some more with Chase Lunt out of UConn, then Jaw Joyner. But now we're here, pick 227, 3 7th-round picks at San Francisco's disposal. And let's see what beholds us in round number 7. I think we did enough on the defensive line. However, I like Ty Robinson from Nebraska. If Kyle Shanahan wants to go 2 running backs in a row or in this draft, you can certainly pitch me on Raheem Sanders, kind of that bigger body bowling ball style of running back who just doesn't want to go down. Although I think he's probably going to go a little earlier than round 7, but we'll see what the draft holds for us in the next, 2.5 weeks or so. There's safety. RJ Mickens is there, who I do like out of Clemson. Took him in last week's draft. There's Craig Woodson, Malachi Moore, Jalen Walker, really good coverage linebacker out of Indiana. Let's talk about safeties, though, because many of you out there do not buy in to Jair Brown being a starting safety next year for your San Francisco 49ers. And many of you out there want to replace him. San Francisco brought in Jason Pinnock, who I think will be an in-the-box safety. They also brought in Richie Grant, who has starting experience. That said, on my board here, we have Elijah Clark, Kaitan Crawford from Nevada, RJ Mickens, who I do like a lot, out of Clemson. Then there's players like Craig Woodson from Cal, Malachi Moore from Alabama. I'm really shocked that the draft community doesn't like Malachi Moore a lot, because he has really good ball skills and is a really good coverage safety. 6 foot, 210 pounds this past year. 69 tackles, 20 defensive run stops, which means negative yards or no yards gained as a run defender. Had 7 PBUs. He had 3 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, and 1 sack. So the ball skills are certainly there. He's a player that has a nose for the football, only a 12% missed tackle rate. And again, you want kind of a playmaker on your back end. Malachi Moore, I think, can be that for you. Only a 44% completion rate allowed. Not usually the stats you find for a safety. These are better than most collegiate safeties. The issue is he's not going to take on bigger blockers in the run game. He's not a high-end athlete. Not a player you say, wow, look at that. He tracked that guy down 20 yards downfield. Not going to be one of those players. Not very explosive, but again, gets and somehow finds his way near the ball a lot. I wouldn't mind Malachi Moore on day 3 whatsoever. We didn't draft a cornerback. Maybe you can get into a Mac McWilliams conversation again, who we took last time. Also wouldn't hate that. Wouldn't mind doing that pick again out of, is it UCF? I believe where he's from. Yes, UCF. Don't really love a lot of the rest of the picks. I think it's probably a little too early for a linebacker, knowing who's on the board still. Smil Mondone from Georgia, Jalen Walker. Don't love a lot of people on the board. So we're going to go with Malachi Moore. You want that roaming safety? I can buy R.J. Mickens, picked him last time, but for the sake of uniqueness, for the sake of changing things up in a what I would do mock draft, let's go get Malachi Moore out of Alabama. Might be a reach, but I think I would value him here a lot. Probably not going to get that, PFF grade we love. The draft grade may say a C. It may say a D. But we'll see who's left on the board at pick, I think it's 249. R.J. Mickens goes to the Bears. Not really a shock there. Craig Woodson goes to the Lions. And we're back on the board. Perfect here for us. Gonna go Jalen Walker, linebacker at Indiana. I think San Francisco likes D. Winters a lot. I like D. Winters a lot. I think there is some high hopes for Tatum Bethune to become linebacker 3 or 4 this year. Wasn't great last year, but did show some signs late in the season. Curtis Robinson's back off the ACL tear, although that is a concern. He was showing some promise in the preseason, so knowing he tore it last preseason, he's fully healthy, ready to go. But Jalen Walker, 3 seasons of 10-plus games played, over almost near 500 snaps in the 3 years he's played at Indiana. Good run defender, good coverage player. Obviously, there's questions as to how he performed against better talent, but fared well against Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Nebraska, Washington. He's a player that I think, although PFF really hasn't talked about him too much, he has good size, 6'1", 218. He's a leader. He's a senior. He missed 13 tackles the last 2 years, in each of the last 2 years, but he had 61 this past year and 47 the year before that. I think he can play in the box. He can play in the slot. He does a lot of things that you liked from Dre Greenlaw, albeit not going to put those expectations on him. I do think could be a player San Francisco likes late on day 3, take a flyer, very similar to how they viewed Tatum Bethune last year. Go get your linebacker. So we pick in 3 more picks, and we'll see what our last pick, 252, where it takes us. I know in last week's draft, we took linebacker Sean Dolak out of Buffalo. I think he's going to go on early day 3, probably around round 4, maybe round 5 if things change and he falls. That said, there isn't really a lot of players you love. Obviously, you're in round 7, pick 252. I could see them double dipping a linebacker. Maybe you want to go back to the Mac McWilliams pick, cornerback out of UCF, but San Francisco actually has a lot of cornerbacks, albeit you can never have enough. They have people like Trey Brown, Green, Lenore, Darrell Luter Jr., and they're probably going to bring in some more as time progresses. That said, if you want to go cornerback, that can make some sense for you. Talked a lot about him last week, so you can kind of go back into last week's draft, but a high effort, going to make even a veteran fight to earn his keep in the NFL. In that cornerback room, you can maybe go Johnny Walker from Missouri. Not a great player. Didn't play against a lot of great talent. Kind of fared well more towards the end of the year. He had double-digit sacks. He had 18 the past 2 years. Once he got a chance to start. I know Trevor Sikkema doesn't have a breakdown on him on PFF, but again, 7th round, you never know. But to round out this year's draft, I think let's go another linebacker, fill out the room. Let's go Nicholas Martin from Oklahoma State. I don't think he'll be here, but again, I think he's a good player. I think it's a good place for him. We're getting him a little later than we usually would on the mock draft simulator. Doesn't have great length, doesn't fill out those passing lanes, but he has the sideline speed you like. He has a pass rushing upside, so as a blitzer, if Saleh wants to get aggressive, you can see that out of Nicholas Martin, kind of similar to how Jalen Walker is for Indiana, who he picked 3 picks earlier. Last year, 49 tackles, 25 defensive stops, 9 pressures, 1 forced fumble, and 1 pass breakup. In 2023, he had 60 defensive stops, which is just insane, showing you the kind of athlete he is. He had 30 pressures and 6 sacks, so he is coming off an injury to his knee, which ended his season early, so maybe there is concerns there, but again, 7th round. He'll over-pursue sometimes, but high work ethic, kind of like those players you want in round 7, guys who want to be there, want to work hard, and can help push other players around them and bring energy to a room, which already has Fred Warner and D. Winters, but you're losing Dre Greenlaw. Bring in a high-effort, high-energy guy that wants to work his tail off in round 7. Kind of hard to say no to that. So going Nicholas Martin here, just really beefing up on defense in the entire draft for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to go ahead and speed things up here to get to the rest of our picks and see how PFF grades out our draft version 2, a full 7 rounds. As you can see, they said we should have took Josh Simmons. I think the injury is going to drop him on many people's boards, but via trade down with the Broncos, you took Kelvin Banks Jr. Via trade up, traded back in the first round, got Derek Harmon. They love the Landon Jackson pick around to pick 51. They like the Vernon Broughton pick, defensive lineman, pick 75 in round 3. They didn't love the Gunnar Helm pick in round 4, but I thought that was a good spot for a tight end. I don't know how much San Francisco wants a tight end, although knowing how much they have talked about Harold Fannin Jr., I can see them valuing a early day 3, late day 2 tight end. There was some talk about Fannin going in round 1. That's just absurd. That said, I think Gunnar Helm, a well-rounded player in round 4, pick 113. Not going to reach for him. I think it's a good pick for them. He has good size and whatnot. Jamari Caldwell, pair him with Derek Harmon Jr. They're both A- picks for a reason. Round 4, you get some studs. I picked Khalil Mullings simply because Kyle Shanahan wants to replace Jordan Mason. I would go DJ Giddens, but in round 4, Mullings makes a lot of sense. Outside zone guy, multiple ball of clay, give him to Bobby Turner and say teach him and let him run. Round 5, you got Chase Lunt, tackle from Connecticut. He is your Colton McKivitz replacement. You got 2 offensive linemen, you got a guard/tackle, and you have your tackle, maybe your right tackle of the future, if he can get his body right out of UConn. You got Ja Joyner, at the time, probably the best edge rusher on the draft board, so you walk away in 2025 with 3 interior, Derek Harmon, Vernon Broughton, Jamari Caldwell, 3 interior defensive linemen. You got Landon Jackson, you got Ja Joyner. You get 2 edge rushers who you have to improve them entirely. Get a running back, you get your tight end, you get your left tackle of the future, you get your right tackle of the future, you get a depth running back to hopefully be something in the future. And in round 7, you get a lot of players that can hopefully be good depth players for you. Nicholas Martin, Jalen Walker, good coverage players. Martin more of the high-end athlete, Walker more of the I can play in the slot in the box guy and be a good coverage linebacker for you, and Malachi Moore being kind of that playmaking safety for you on the back end. We are in a top 24% of Niner drafts, and we have an overall A- grade. Compare this to last week's draft. What do you think? Do you like the picks? Do you dislike the picks? Tell me down below in the comments. And honestly, we're inching closer to the draft, and I want to let you know later on this week, going to drop the 5 players the San Francisco 49ers need to avoid at pick 11 in round number 1. That comes out later this week, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave that review. And again, drop who you would have picked down below. Do you like this draft? Do you like double dipping in that first round? I know I do. I love this draft. Maybe a little more than last week, especially on day 1 and day 2, which San Francisco has to hit on. But my name is Sterling Bennett. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave that review, drop your picks down below. Don't forget to use our promo code 49ersaccess at SeatGeek.com and get your can of goat fuel in the comments down below as well. Until next time, again, 5 players to avoid coming out later this week. Stay tuned for that. And until next time, my name is Sterling Bennett, and as always, stay faithful.